Business Blueprint, simplifying your success.
Please give a big blueprint welcome to David Jenyns.
Great, thank you. Thanks. Excellent. Okay, I'm very much looking forward to sharing with you what's very quickly becoming a huge passion for me, web video. Having applied it into my own business and also having worked with some clients as well, I've seen what web video, when applied correctly into a business, what it can do. So my objective today, it's very clear. I want to have each and every one of you creating more web video. That's the sole purpose, because I know how much of an impact that it can have. It's perhaps one of the best things that you can do for your business, because it duplicates you. That's the biggest limiting resource that we have, is time, and video is a great way to replicate yourself. And so what I want to do is, I suppose, just take you through a little bit of a journey. And I know a few of you have already done a bit of web video as well, and you kind of already understand that. And what I want to try and do is just connect a few of the dots. Because oftentimes, you know you should be doing something, but there are these little hurdles and things that you need to overcome to actually do them. And for whatever reason, you might not be doing as much web video as you could or should be. So what I want to try and do is remove a few of those roadblocks so you get a few aha moments. Think about how you can apply it to your business and then start to move forward on it. I know it's going to have a huge impact for you. The way that I found out how important web video was is, if I take you back in time a little bit, a business partner and I, this is going back about 12 years now, created a book called the Metastock Programming Study Guide. And it was all about how to learn a particular charting package, because my previous life, I was over in the stock market education niche, and I really was the marketing brains behind marketing our different products. So the first product that I partnered with Stuart McPhee on was the Metastock Programming Study Guide, and we designed it. And this kind of really fits in well with what Dale was talking about in the previous session, the idea that you can have a fantastic product, but unless anyone knows that it actually exists, it's not really worth anything. And the guide itself was a fantastic product, and it sold very well in our immediate community. People got it, we got some great feedback. But once I kind of got to that point, I got stuck. You know, there's a little bit of word of mouth, and people did recommend and refer, but I wanted to get the message out much greater than that. So I started to get interested in marketing and really fascinated on the idea of marketing. And the way that I thought about getting the word out, I thought, well, maybe we'll start doing some workshops. And we toured around Australia, teaching people about this charting package. And that's actually a photo from the first workshop that I ran. Now, what that photo doesn't show is me in the room next to that, shaking like a leaf, holding my notes, because for anyone who's ever done any public speaking, the first time is always the most difficult. And even though some people say it gets a little bit easier, it's still pretty nerve-wracking. There's something about public speaking that means most people fear it more than death. And there I was, fearing death, standing in the room next to that one just there, and I'd prepared quite well. I'd got all of my notes, and I was ready to go out there, and about an hour before, I'm just standing there, and it was the full panic started to set in. But I knew, because the people were in the room, I didn't have a choice. I'd burnt the bridges behind me. I had to go out there. They'd all paid a couple of $100s to hear Stuart and I talk. Now, fortunately, my business partner at the time, a much better speaker than I, really positioned me and kind of gave me a big thumbs up, which helped give me a good stage. But I literally sat there through the whole presentation with my notes. And imagine this, paying a couple of $100 and then watching a kid who looks like he's probably about 12, standing in front of the room, shaking like this, reading the notes for half an hour. And for me, that was a real turning point. And I look back on that now as one of those turning points that had a huge impact on my business and the way that things have gone. And I know there are times in your business when there are things that you might not have yet done. You haven't quite made that leap because it feels a little bit uncomfortable. But those are the things where you will grow most. And you deep down know that. And I think there are some great parallels between the way I felt on that day and also making web video. Because in a similar way, it's that presenting, and people have those hurdles. And I know if you overcome those, it will be one of those turning points for you and one of the biggest sort of impacts that you have. Now, We toured Australia, and towards the end, I actually got a little bit better, believe it or not. Just a little bit of practice, a little bit of persistence, and I got better. I still did find, though, we were still having trouble getting clients beyond the people that I saw. It got the word out a little bit more, but being a budding young entrepreneur, I wanted to take over the world, and just a handful of people around Australia wasn't enough. So I started to come up with some other strategies. Now, this is going back, you can actually see the little stamp there from YouTube. It's back in 2007, so we're kind of going back 6 or 7 years. I took the workshop that we recorded, which was the last workshop that we ran on the tour around Australia. We decided to record it. Then I chopped that up into pieces, and then I loaded it to YouTube. And that just opened a whole new can of worms when it came to marketing. I just unlocked the potential of what can happen when you start to utilize YouTube in your business. Now, this is just a little bit of a snippet. I'll only play you a snippet because it's pretty uncomfortable to watch for me.
Very quickly there, I've just designed a basic system, and we've entered it into the filter tab, because the filter tab is what ultimately Metastock is going to use to...
That's enough of that. That was me when I was looking about 12, and as you can see, I got a little bit better over time. And as I said, it opened up this can of worms, and I started realizing, hey, I can upload more of these videos, and it's a great way to pre-sell my business, and it's a great way to position me as the expert, get people to know me, and it gets a chance to duplicate what it is that I did. So I went on a rampage. I uploaded 250 videos onto the YouTube channel. We're coming up close to a couple of million views. We've got loads of subscribers, videos varying from a couple of thousand all the way up to well over 50,000 views. And a couple of them, the one I took a screenshot there, one of them's got 57,000. That's my bedroom. That's my dresser in the corner with my clothes. And I just can't believe that these videos have been watched so much. And now it's just, even to this day, a lot has changed since then. I've moved into a different industry. I've sort of recognized that marketing is my thing, and that's where my real passion is. So I've moved over there, and even to this day, that YouTube channel still drives loads of traffic, gets loads of views, and makes me sales of the Metastock Programming Study Guide that we wrote 13 years ago. But I haven't done anything in that space for 3 or 4 years now. That's a pretty powerful marketing piece. That's building an asset in your business that will continue to work for you. It's doing work once and then getting paid for a very long time. This is why I love video. It's probably one of the most powerful things you can do. A lot's changed since then. My business partner, he headed in one direction and I headed in another. There were some changes in the Australian financial law which required a certain amount of licensing when it came to giving financial advice. So I kind of went in the direction of marketing because I'd built up a bit of a team. We launched Melbourne SEO Services. Since then, SEO and video really have started to tie together. The low-hanging fruit right now on the web when it comes to driving traffic and qualified leads to your website and to your business is YouTube. Obviously, the window of SEO is sort of closing over time. It's getting more and more competitive. It's not nearly as predictable as it once was. And the big window at the moment is still video. So since then, we launched the company. We've worked with some really big companies, some ASX-listed companies, companies all around the world. We had the good fortune of being involved in some very successful viral marketing. The last one that we did was a life-size Lego car powered by air. We helped orchestrate that, and we launched that video just prior to Christmas. Just past, you may have seen it, got picked up by 150 different media outlets. We got over 4 million views in less than 30 days. And that power of marketing through video is, you just can't beat it. So what I want to teach you today and take you through, obviously you're already getting a sense for why you must do video, and most of you are already sold on the idea. What I want to do is drop a few nuggets into your mind that makes you go, now I need to do this right now. I must create more web video. My message is clear. I'll talk about the 3 must-have videos that every business should have. We'll talk about some scripting ideas to make it easy for you if that's been a hurdle. We'll talk about the equipment, not to get caught up in the tech. A lot of people are looking for the latest and greatest and, hey, does this camera do that, and what type of audio? I'll just give you the essential equipment that you need to get a great quality output. I'll also show you how to make editing easy. A lot of people get stuck with that. There is an easy way to do it. and we'll talk about getting your videos seen, how to upload it on YouTube and take advantage of YouTube's massive community to get yourself some visibility on the web and how you can syndicate it. Then I'll tie all of that together and give you my secret weapon. This is the thing that has worked consistently for me multiple times and creates massive amounts of video in a very short space in time, high quality content, and then you can syndicate it out across the web, and it's like having 200, 300 little salespeople out on the web selling your services 24/7, and you do it once. So as I said, the most important asset that we've got, obviously, it's a rhetorical question. We know the answer, it's time. Time is the most important asset that we have. And in business, your business, there are two types of work that you can be doing. You can be trading time for dollars, and you can also be spending your time building assets. Now, regardless of where you are in your entrepreneurial journey, to a certain extent, there is going to be a time when you have to exchange time for money. And that's okay. That's part of business, where you actually get on the tools and do some stuff for a client, and you're literally swapping your time for your dollars. You're getting paid for that service. That's okay. But there needs to be a point when you start building the assets, because the assets are what will get you wealthy. Once you build the assets are something that you do once, but they can continue to work for you. And your assets grow over time, and then that's when you start to unlock some sort of residual income and get some cash flow coming in for work that you don't necessarily have to swap time for dollars for. So how do you spend your time? Like, have a think about it, you in your business, regular day-to-day. It's great to see a lot of people coming to workshops like these, because really this gives you an opportunity to look outside of your business, back into your business with some outside perspective and go, oh, I can see how I'm spending. You know, you're investing on the business rather than just being in the business, as we all know, as Michael Gerber talked about. So just make sure, though, regardless of what you are doing, you always need to have a component of your time spent on building assets. Otherwise, you will never get off the treadmill. You will keep running. And one of the best ways to do that, I believe, is by building videos. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was building intellectual property assets. Sometimes when people think of assets, they think of house and plant and equipment and that sort of thing. But in the modern world, there are other assets. There's intellectual property that we can create. When I wrote the Metastock Programming Study Guide, that was an asset that continued to pay me a royalty after the work had been done and still pays me to this day. What you want to do is make sure that you have these types of assets. And I see the videos that I've created and uploaded to YouTube as assets as well. And they're a very easy asset to create. The great thing about video is it duplicates you. We understand that time is the most limited resource that we have. It is the most important asset that we have. So anything that we can do that duplicates us is gold. Web videos and the ability to can and clone yourself just makes this a huge opportunity. A few light bulbs are starting to go off and going, oh yes, I can see why web videos are important. It enables you to duplicate your best sales message. You can get your best salesperson, whether it's you or if you've actually got someone on the team that sells, and get them to record that message so the message is given flawlessly time and time again. That video there is on the homepage of Melbourne SEO Services. It's been viewed close to 5,000 times. I didn't have to pick up the phone and chat with someone and say the same script over and over and over. And more often than not, I've got people who pick up the phone and say, I feel like I know you already. I've watched a couple of videos. I'm not calling you up to try and negotiate on price or get you to sell me on your services. You've already done that in your video. That's the subtext. I'm calling you up because I want to order your products and services. It also enables you to answer client questions, another one of the key videos. If you're answering the same question for your clients over and over and over and over again, that's not a good use of your time. It's not a good use of your team's time either. Because more often than not, 80% of the questions that you get from your clients are the same questions over and over and over. So how about you get your best person to answer it, whether it's you or another team member, have them record a video that answers that question, and then anytime anyone ever asks, oh, we've created a video for that. Can I grab your email address and I'll shoot it through? Or they might get to the website and they answer their own question on their own. And then by the time they pick up the phone, they're ready to place an order. So frequently asked questions are another great series of videos that you should be thinking about. It's also a great way to build proof and position you as the expert. Building proof by taking case studies, working with your best and most valuable raving fans, your best clients. Work with them, get them a great result, then document the whole procedure, and then that becomes a fantastic little marketing tool for you to say, hey, here is someone who was in your shoes, had the same problem as you, then they worked with me and they had a fantastic result. Maybe you should do the same. That's a great way to sell. And you can also use it to build up your own proof, depending on what industry you're in. If you want to be positioned as an expert, experts typically take the lion's share of business, and by building yourself up as an expert, people start coming to you. It's a different sort of marketing. It's pull marketing, not push marketing. So by making yourself an expert, you start to pull people towards you. So documenting that is another great way. And the one that I haven't talked about much, and very few people have talked about, in fact, I haven't really heard many people talk about it at all, but this is probably one of the keys. And I've seen Dale start talking about the idea of these systems, and that's why I love the idea of the business blueprint. Like, he's creating all of these business systems. Think about having videos that train your staff and your team members. One of the biggest amounts of time that you'll spend when a new team member comes on board is onboarding them, getting them up to speed, indoctrinating them with the way that you do business, helping them to understand the way that you talk to clients. If you create a series of videos that helps to document that procedure, what a fantastic way to duplicate yourself. There's a little snapshot inside our work wiki, dropping down Melbourne Video Production. You can see there's a shoot checklist. There's a basic shoot and edit tutorial. There's setting up the studio. There are a series of videos when we get a new team member on board that they can watch. And we don't have to spend the time to handhold them through that process. They can answer 80% of their questions, and then they just ask the final few that they're not sure about. Not only that, it's a resource that they can keep checking back in on. They can go back if they've got a question, and rather than feeling stupid because they have to ask someone, they can go and find the answer when they need it. So as you can see, I love video. You can do it once, it becomes this video asset that works with you forever. So we're all starting to get really sold on the idea. Just to get a little bit of an idea, who has done some video before? Wow. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so now I think this should put almost like a little bit of rocket fuel underneath your fire because you're already there. And you recognize that, hey, this is probably one of the best ways I could be spending my time because it's duplicating myself. So the 3 must-have videos, and I kind of alluded to them in that last little section there. We've got our video business card, the VBC, it's the FAQs, and the raving fans. They're the 3 types of videos that all businesses should be creating. The first one, which is the video business card, VBC, it basically answers the question, what is it that you do? Most business owners don't know how to answer that question. If someone says, what do you do? They stumble, they stammer, they run on for 5 minutes, and at the end of it, you're not really sure or even clear on what it is that they do, their products and their services. So what the video business card does is, in 2 or 3 minutes, very succinctly gets your message across. Now, we've been experimenting with some different video business cards, and I wanted to give you just a little bit of a snippet of one. We've done something a bit different on this one. We actually led with a story, and I'll explain the psychology behind that. But here's just a little bit of a snippet of a video business card. It's not actually released yet. We're just working with the person you're about to see at the moment, so you guys are the first to actually see it, and here's just a little bit of a snippet.
Let me tell you about the day the footy went through my kitchen window. I called the glazier, he came around, he fixed the window, and afterwards we got talking. He asked me what I did. I said I was a marketing guy. And at that point he went, oh, the pain. I said, what's the matter, mate? He said, well, I've got to go home and renew my Yellow Pages ad. I said, what's wrong with that? That's just marketing your business. He said, the problem is it cost $20,000. I still prodded him and said, but you must be getting $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 back in return. He said, I don't know. At that point, I'm starting to question his decision about running an ad for $20,000 in the Yellow Pages. I said, why do you do it? He said, well, I've been doing it for so long that I'm scared to let it go in case my competitor picks it up. And at that point, I put my arm around him and I said, matey, you give that ad to your competitor. You give that $20,000 bill to your competitor, because here's the thing. The marketing world has changed so much in the last week, month, 12 months that the opportunity cost of that $20,000 is amazing. You could be spending it on some incredible marketing that better engages an audience, that shows them how helpful you are as a business, that creates what I call content marketing, that positions you as the expert and really draws a customer towards you and makes them want to buy from you. So that glazier went away and never looked back. G'day, I'm Tim Reed. I'm host of Australia's #1 marketing podcast, The Small Business Big Marketing Show.
I won't go through it all. That's about halfway there. Now, we did try something a little bit longer. We did have quite a long hook at the start there. We just wanted to experiment to see what would happen if we told a story and if it would draw someone in. And everybody loves stories. That's a great way to communicate. So the real essence, though, of a video business card is to just make sure that you've got a hook, something that as someone starts watching it, it draws them in and they want to listen to what you've got to say. Then another great idea at that point is to introduce some sort of problem. Talk about what are some of the problems that they're having. You know, business owners, they are spending money on marketing that they might not necessarily understand why they're doing it, and they're just doing it because they've always done it. That was kind of the problem that Tim introduced. Then we sort of start to introduce a solution. And the solution, typically speaking, is the product or service that you sell, or yourself if you are the product or service. And then towards the end, you always want to have a very clear call to action. That's kind of the structure. It's hook, problem, solution, action. I think when you're going to record it, it's best to try and record it at your place of business, because what this video business card really aims to do is have someone feel like they already know you without having met you. So people ask, well, what should I wear for the video business card? Wear what you would wear if a client or prospect came to see you. Record the video where they would probably come to the place of business. So that way they kind of already feel a little bit acclimatized to what it is that you do. It's only a few minutes long, 2 or 3 minutes long. Everybody's got short attention spans these days, so you want to make sure that you try and get to the point straight away. And then always remember the people are tuned into the WIIFM. What's in it for me? That radio station that everybody's tuned in on, you want to make sure that obviously they can see what they're going to get out of it. The next must-have video is the frequently asked questions, or we call them time savers. And it's this idea that 80% of the questions that you're getting are the same questions over and over, so you might as well answer them once for the last time, do it in video format, and then that way you start to duplicate yourself and free up your team as well. Here's one that we did for Darlings Down Under, which they make...
Hi, I'm Catherine from Darlings Down Under. Do
nappies
you want to
and
know
things.
what an all-in-one nappy is? An all-in-one nappy has the waterproof layer built in and the absorbency attached to the body of the nappy. So it's very easy to use. In fact, it's easier than using a disposable. You just pop it straight on your baby and off you go. Often they have a flap that opens out for quicker drying time. The great thing about all-in-one nappies is they're so easy to use, they're really great for childcare and babysitters. If you'd like to know more about all-in-one nappies,
nice
come
call to
visit us
action.
at darlingsdownunder.com.au.
So those videos, no matter what business you're in, you can create little videos that answer frequently asked questions. The way to think about it, this structure, it's quite simple. It is a question, it is the answer, and then some sort of call to action at the end, telling people what they should do next to either go ahead and make a purchase, find out more, get in contact with you, maybe get a tailored response. Whatever your call to action is, sign up to a free newsletter, you build that into the end of the video. In fact, that's something that you want to do on all of your videos and all of your communications. Always tell the person what it is that they should be doing next. As far as the structure on how to start, usually a good way to think is just the 10 by 10 approach, which is what are 10 questions that you get asked, on a frequently basis. Answer those, write them down. If you don't know, talk to your frontline staff who are talking to the customers. Ask them, what questions are you getting asked on a regular basis? Try and list those out and record 10 of those. And then the 10 by 10, the other 10, is to record 10 videos on questions that you think they should be asking. Because sometimes a client or a prospect, they're asking the wrong questions to correctly analyse the competition to decide whether or not they should be doing business with you. So if you can ask some questions that help them, educate them on why you're different, and some of these other providers might do bait and switch, whereas that's not the way that you do business, or trying to help them understand why they shouldn't be shopping on price. It's more about making sure that they get their problem and solution solved. You can build in some of those questions into those 10 questions that they should be asking. And then do as many as you can after that. That's just a good place to start. Really, the time savers should become an essential element for the way that you do business. You should be just continuing to collect these over time. They're only short, 1 or 2 minutes. They don't need to be super polished. The video business card typically might be a bit more scripted, have a bit more of cutaways, a bit more stylized, but frequently asked questions. They can just be as simple as a static background and a 1 to 2 minute talking head straight to camera. And then the third and final one that all businesses should have and start collecting are raving fans, testimonials, case studies. These types of videos, no one sells your business better than someone who was a potential client who, for whatever reason, decided, yes, I'm going to work with you, and then they got a great result, and now they're happy to tell the world about it. They're the best type of people that you can have out there talking about your business, and you want to do what you can to encourage them to help get the message out. We all know that referral marketing is one of the best forms of marketing out there. And for referral marketing, this is a way through the video content to capture that. It's like we're getting them telling that story, and it helps to remind your best customers why it is they've chosen to work with you. So it just keeps on reinforcing. Now here's a video testimonial that I just caught with a client that I just did some coaching with, and I'll just give you a little snippet. Hey, it's Dave here from Melbourne SEO, and I'm actually just here with the twins from the block. We've just had a consulting session, and I'd love to know how are we now, 3-4 hours later?
Yeah.
How was the session talking?
Well, I guess initially I was a little bit hesitant to do this session, wondering whether it was worth us investing some money into it, and I'm a little bit disappointed we didn't do it earlier. I think if we had have done it earlier, we could have saved a lot of time. And I think sometimes when you're speaking to someone that's not in the midst of...
I won't go through the whole thing, but the point is, imagine having someone who's thinking about doing business with you right on the edge. They haven't quite made that decision, because one of the biggest hurdles someone has to get over when deciding whether or not they're going to do business with you is believing what you say is true. That's the biggest hurdle. How do they know that you're going to deliver on your promises? Everybody's got that in the back of their mind if it's someone that they haven't worked with. Now, if I've got someone who was in that same place and then they took the step and they worked with me and they got the great result, and I send them that testimonial, wow, what a great way to win business. It's something that I've been collecting for a really long time now, and you need to start collecting them now. Like, start tomorrow, start today. Call someone up and ask if you can line up at some sort of testimonial with someone who you've already got a great result for. Because these things take time to build up. I've got a website now called daveraves.com, where I've collected many hundreds of testimonials from people that I've worked with over the last 5 years. And I put them all in one place, and that way I can direct them to there, and there's just overwhelming proof that I can deliver on the promises that I make. And it's a very powerful marketing tool. The way I like to think about it is, think about your golden child. Imagine your best prospect, your best client as your golden child. You want to get the best result for them, work closely with them until the point at which they're a raving fan, and then document that, and then continue to deliver for them. And the actual structure of it, like how do you ask them and what questions to ask them, the way I think about it, it's a before, during, and after. Before, where were they prior to working with you? What were some of the problems and issues that they were having? Like, where were they getting stuck? Why did they decide to work with you? Like, how did they discover you, and what was the clinching thing that made them want to work with you? That's all the before unit. Then the during unit is, what was it like when they were working with you? Was it easy to work with you? What was the biggest takeaway that they got? What was the best benefit, result, whatever? And then the after component. Now that it's all happened, how much of an impact is this going to have on your future business? What results did you get as a benefit of using the particular product and service? And what would you say to someone that was in the same point as you are back then, prior to making that decision? What could you say to them that would make them take the next step? Because this is the correct next step. If you can have that before, during, and after in your testimonials, and if you have a look at daveraves.com, all of my testimonials follow that structure. Okay, so now we kind of start to talk about those 3 videos, just to get an idea. Some of these videos, because you've got so many people that have actually created a lot of videos, I want to get a little bit of a feel. How many people have already created some sort of video business card? Couple? Yep. How many people have created some sort of frequently asked questions? Yep, about very similar. And then how many people have actually got documented case studies and proof and testimonials? Yeah, okay, good mix. So I would say that these 3 types of videos are the ones that you want to start collecting, and they should be front and center. And once you've got your video business card out of the way, then ongoing collecting of testimonials and recording of frequently asked questions should become a must and part of the way that you do business. Okay, so let's talk about some of the scripting strategies. Some of the reasons why people get held back is because they feel like they need to be like a Quentin Tarantino or something like that and write this amazing script. So they labor over it, and it means they never actually pull the trigger and take action. What you need to do, just keep it in your mind that you want to get into the head of your prospect. That is the best way to write scripts. Create an avatar of your target market. Imagine yourself drifting up out of your head and then floating down into the body of your avatar, and think about what it is, what problems have they got going on? What issues are they coming up against? Why would it that they would be seeking you out? What would make them feel confident and trust you to be the person that can solve that problem for them? If you come from that approach and you make all of your videos about serving and helping the person, you'll end up solving 95% of your scripting problems. Just speak real and speak to your target market. My magic formula, if I'm writing a longer type video, because we do varying different types of video, sometimes you do like the FAQs, they're quite short and you know your subject matter, so you might not script it. It might be just something that rolls off the tongue. But sometimes when you're doing something a little bit more elaborate, or if you're doing a full sort of sales letter type video, then in those situations, you might want to have a script and you might want to use a teleprompter. It takes a little bit of time and a bit of practice to get your head around it, but all I do is I will take my iPhone, I'll record into the iPhone my sales pitch or my message, or maybe I'll record a sales conversation that I'm having with someone, and I'll just record it. Then I get it automatically because I use an app called Dictamus. It drops it into my Dropbox folder. Then my mum, she comes into the office every Tuesday and she transcribes things for me. That's my mum there. And my mum transcribes that sales message. Then that message gets passed either to another team member or back to me, and we hone and tighten the script. And we just chop out the bits and come up with something really tight. And then we load it onto a teleprompter, which is over there, and I'll show you the way that that works when we get to the equipment section. But that's a really smart way for someone who feels like, oh, I've got a hurdle for creating these scripts. Sometimes it's good to just, shoot off the cuff, but it depends on the length of the film. Other times you might need a script. For those other times where you might already feel like, how some people just feel like they're naturally talkers and they've got the gift of the gab, and some of the really good salesmen have it, and it just seems to roll off the tongue for them. It's like they've internalized their scripts. They don't even need to read anymore because their scripts are part of who they are. For those types of people, what you can do is, and if you're one of those people, just get a whiteboard, bullet point out what it is that you want to say in the particular video, and then just have that behind the camera. That's what Tim Reed was doing there when he was in the studio and we were making some notes on some videos that he was making. He was just bullet pointing out what he wanted to say because he's a professional speaker, and then we put that behind the camera, and then he would just do his little bit. He might pause for a moment, have a quick look so he knew what he wanted to talk about next, go back and then continue. And then obviously in the edit we can take out the pauses. So that's another way to do it. It's that editing magic makes it quite easy. There's a couple of little secrets, especially when you're doing the talking head type stuff. If you always come back to the same stance, you'll actually notice in a lot of my videos, I'll always come back and have my hands like this. And it's kind of by design, so that way I can do this, do whatever I want, and then I come back here, and then if I need to have a break and a pause, so when my editor comes in and needs to do some work, I'm at the same point. It makes it very easy for him to chop out a block of time, and it won't feel like anything's changed because I've got my same central point. The other thing that you'll notice as well, sometimes you'll watch a video and it'll feel like it'll jump. You might watch a video that Dale's done or someone else has done, and you'll feel it pop in on that person. They'll zoom in on their head. That's oftentimes, it might feel seamless and like they're doing it from a stylistic point of view. Sometimes it is, but oftentimes that's where they might have made a mistake in the script. They've made a fluff, and then what they'll do is they'll use that cut to mask it. So with editing and things like that, you don't have to get it perfect. The way to do it is just speak to a friend. Imagine that avatar as your friend, and imagine that you're talking through the camera to that friend. Speak to one person. Don't use you all and use guys and all that sort of thing. Just pick as though you're speaking to one person, because one person is watching it. And then just remember, it's about practice. Even professionals make mistakes. You look at professional actors and people who do this for like a living, they still make mistakes. Even the best of the best make mistakes. So don't be so hard on yourself. It takes time and takes practice. I remember a friend and I, we used to do some rock climbing, and we were at this rock climbing wall, and we'd been climbing for a couple of hours, and then we just saw this old guy come in, and he just scaled up the wall in what felt like 30 seconds, something that we'd been labouring on and climbing up for 20 minutes. He just did it like that, almost effortlessly. When he came back down, we thought, oh, well, let's go ask him. Was there any particular secret, or were you holding your weight down in your feet? Were you using your hands a certain way? Was it the way that you were twisting your body? And he goes, no, it's the way that you get good is time on the wall. And that was something that I took away and started to recognise that exists everywhere. If you want to get better at something, spend some time on the wall, and that's how you get better at it. So now we need to talk about some equipment. Hopefully, some of those scripting ideas can kind of get through a few more of those roadblocks that you have had in the past. Especially this might get you into a process and a rhythm for creating more videos. So I'm just hoping now, it might only be small, it'll definitely grow by the end of this session, but you might have this little feeling that a bit of excitement around creating more videos. That'll grow as this presentation continues, but what I want you to do is just notice that it's there and go, I'm going to start making more videos. That was my objective for this. So we'll talk a little bit about equipment, a little bit of a disclaimer. I don't want to get caught up in the details. You don't need to. A lot of people do, and for that reason, it ends up being a bit of a stumbling block. Let's just give you what you need to know to get the right equipment. Firstly, you need a camera. A lot of camera technology has come a very long way. You can get a fantastic picture from a digital SLR. We shoot on the Canon 60D, that's this one here. And it's been a little bit outdated now. There are newer models. There's the 5D and quite a few other ones, but you'll find the digital SLRs for value for money and the picture quality that you get anything around that Canon 60D mark and in that kind of range. And for under $1,500, you will get something that will shoot amazing footage. All of the videos that we do for our clients at the moment for Melbourne Video Productions is shot on this. And it's cheap and very accessible. If you want to level up beyond that and you want to shoot like workshops and really long things, you might have a look at getting yourself a Sony FS100. There are a couple of other versions, but they're great places to start. If you're shooting on something like the Canon 60D, the audio isn't the best. You can plug an external microphone into it, but it's probably best. Audio is one of those things. You don't think about it much when it's good, and you watch a video and you don't give it much of a second thought. But when it's bad, you really notice it. So you want to make sure you have very good audio. We use a thing here. It looks, I hopped on the plane this morning and I was going through when they were scanning the bags and everything, and every time I seem to take this on, they always seem to pull me aside and ask me what this is. They seem to think it's a taser or something like that. But what it is, it's an external digital recording device that will capture the audio separately. And you basically take this and then you get something like these. They're little Sennheiser mics. You plug one that gets plugged straight into the unit here, and then that's the receiver, obviously, and then you take a little lapel mic, you plug it in, and then you've got very good audio. With this sort of audio, the aim of the game is to get as close to the subject as possible, and then that's how you'll get really good sound. You can also do the shotgun mic as well. Sometimes it's if you're getting things like case studies and raving fans type videos, you know, and if you're spur of the moment or you're pushing through a lot of testimonials very quickly, it takes a little bit to mic someone up, so you might look at something like a shotgun mic as well. This is just a Rode external shotgun mic, and it just basically sits on top of the camera, and that can also get you very good sound. That all being said, sometimes people go, I still, you know, that's still a hurdle for getting started. If you've got an iPhone, just get an idea who's got an iPhone. Everybody's got an iPhone. If you've got an iPhone, you're 80% of the way there, 90%. You can get a fantastic picture from the iPhone. Just get yourself some external mic. There's a thing called a lavalier that you can buy off eBay, and it'll get you great audio. And together, there's even a course, I think iPhone Video Hero or something like that, that teaches you how to make videos on iPhones. But that's a great way just to get started. Now you don't have any more roadblocks. That's another thing I can pull out. There we go. So the lavalier. And you'll get a copy of the recordings, and I can make the slides available to Dale as well, so that way you can grab the brands and things like that. You also want to get a tripod. I would probably not recommend a tripod of this size, but I was on the plane and I wanted to do just carry-on luggage, so I brought that one. But the important thing with a tripod, and why I recommend it, is you want to make sure it's at eye level, especially if you're doing talking head style videos. You want it to feel like you're talking straight to someone. You don't want to feel like you're talking down. You don't want an odd angle to feel like you're talking up. Try and have it at eye height. So a good quality tripod is a good place to start, not to scale. You also want to think about lights depending on where it is that you're shooting. If you're shooting indoors, you're going to want to have lights. You can just Google or go to eBay. You want soft box lighting kits. Soft box lighting kits. You want 2 or 3 lights. You can pick them up for under $500. They look a little bit like that. And basically, just Google as well, 3-point lighting system. Or go to YouTube, actually. I mean, we love video. Go to YouTube and search for 3-point lighting system. There'll be different tutorials and things on how to set up the 3-point lighting system. Lighting is another one that's key to make sure that you come across professional. I don't know if you've ever watched a video where it felt like, you know, the person's face was black and you just saw a silhouette, or maybe they had loads of shadows on their face. It's harder to trust a video like that, but if you've got well lit and you can kind of see the face, then you can build up even more trust there. So I think lights are important. If you want to get around that, you can shoot outside. That's another way. Just make sure that the light source is behind the camera person. So whoever's talking, it's like you're looking into the sun, so that way your face is lit up. When it comes to backdrops, something plain like this, whether it's a curtain, I think simple is best. The more complex you try and make something, more often than not, you'll look back in a few years' time and go, oh, I can't believe I was thinking that. I look at that one in my bedroom and I can't get over the fact that I was recording in my bedroom with my wardrobe in the background and my change thing on top. So simple is best. If you're going to go for the Apple look, just have a white wall background and you can do a little bit of lighting, and that's a great way to get a good look. If you're doing a video business card, you obviously want to shoot on location, as I said, that place of business, but for frequently asked questions and things like that, just having a plain background is fine. And then thinking about indoor versus outdoor. When you do go outdoor, there are just some extra things that you want to keep in mind. Obviously, when you're editing a video and you're chopping things together, sometimes there's going to be like little breaks in the video, and there might be a person walking along in the background and they jump from here in one cut, and then the next cut, they're over here. So you want to make sure you keep that in mind. Same as well if music's playing in the background. The music might jump from one point to another. So there are just extra things you need to take into account when recording outside. That's one of the reasons you might do it inside or in some sort of studio. Should you go a green screen or not is one of those frequently asked questions that we get. As a general rule, for 95% of people, I would say don't worry about a green screen. You're just complicating things for yourself. Even the experts, sometimes you'll be watching the weather report in the evening and you'll see a little green glow, or you might start to see it now that I've mentioned it, a little green glow around the person as they're doing it. That's because even when you're good at green screens, there's still it's quite hard to set up. You need an even flow of lighting on the background. You need to make sure that there's no light that bounces back on you. If it's not done correctly, it looks wrong. So we might as well not worry about it. And I don't think being in front of a picture or something that you've superimposed in the background is going to be any more effective than you standing in front of a curtain or in a plain background. So just make it easier on yourself. And that's it. When it comes to equipment, just think about getting the right camera, the right audio, a tripod, and some lights. All of that you can get for under a few grand. It's something that you buy once and you can probably get a good many years' use out of as well. Especially if you go with that sort of equipment, it'll stand the test of time. Just to get an idea, who's sort of invested in some equipment, or I want to try and know, are people still shooting on iPhones? So who's using like just iPhones and stuff like that for videos? Okay, so a few. So yeah, still, yep. And who's kind of taken a bit of time and invested a bit? Yep, cool. So it's not a very big hurdle to jump over, and that's one of the things why video is so great. It's still an emerging technology. The cost of technology is coming down and it's making it very accessible for everybody. So the more videos that you can create, the better. So, editing made easy. How do we make editing easy? Don't do it. That's the easiest way to do it. I don't think where you won't be adding much value to what it is that the end product is going to look like if you're spending your time doing the editing. It's not a good use of your time. It's very easy to get sucked into a rabbit hole, a vortex, find yourself editing a particular video, and then you start at 9 in the morning and then you look up at the time and it's 7 o'clock at night and you haven't got your first video out and the whole day's disappeared. Video editing can be like that, and my recommendation is don't do it. I would get a professional editor to do it. That's Adrian Cabrier. He works with us at Melbourne Video Production. He was a TropFest finalist, and at the year sort of just passed, we're very excited to have that for him as he went through, and TropFest is one of the biggest short film festivals, and he got as one of the finalists. You don't need to have a TropFest finalist editor to be working on your type of work. You don't need it. Go to a local university, find someone who is doing their final year of video studies and say, hey, do you want to build up your portfolio? I'll give you $15, $20 an hour if you come and record these frequently asked or edit these frequently asked questions videos, or to do some case studies. We've just got a question over there. We'll just get a mic as it runs over. Yeah, so you don't need to make it any more complicated than it needs to be. It's best that you avoid that, in my opinion. If you want, you can do one or two just to get your head around it if you like. But again, you're going down a rabbit hole.
So from experience, pedestrian.tv is the website where you can put those ads up for free for uni students doing. I've had 2 fantastic uni students. They loved the work because it was great for their CV, and they need direction, but they sure knew what they were doing, and that's where the Australian uni students list themselves. Pedestrian.tv.
Pedestrian.tv, that's an excellent tip. I'll have to check it out. I've not seen it myself. That's good. And that's really the way to do it. The direction that you do give them, like the gentleman was saying about giving them a little bit of direction and then they can kind of run with it, the direction that you want to give them, I'll get this out of the way because I will trip over it later if I don't. Oh wow, did I? The only thing I forgot in the equipment, in fact I'm going to show you right now because it just jumped into my mind. The only other piece of equipment that you might want is the teleprompter. It looks like a magic trick, doesn't it? I feel like I'm about to reveal something. So this is the way the teleprompter works. We'll just do this now. Okay. So if you go to teleprompt it, you can get one of these for, I think they're only a few $100. It basically is an iPad, and then you get a little app. You write up the script that I was talking about, you load it into this, and then the camera actually comes in behind here. So that way you can look straight down the barrel of the camera and it doesn't feel like, you know how sometimes you watch someone who's reading a script or they've got it on a computer and they look like they're looking over to the left. I don't know if you've ever seen that when you're watching a video, and they feel a little bit shifty because they're not looking at you in the eye. So you want to get a teleprompter so you can look straight down the barrel of the camera and then it just goes like that. I don't know if you can see that okay. But that's the way to do it. And the best thing as well, if you use that technique I talked about by getting your mum to transcribe things for you, it ends up being in your voice. And if it's in your voice, it doesn't feel like you're reading a script. It comes across very naturally because it's your speech patterns as well. So it's a great tool. So once you get that raw footage, just a question up the front here. It's called, the brand of that particular teleprompter is called Teleprompt It. It's an Australian company and it's a few $100, and that's roughly what it looks like there, and then you basically screw it on the top of a tripod and put it in front of the camera. And then, just as the gentleman talked about, you give them, once you've got the raw assets, or you give them a little bit of direction on what it is that they should be doing and how they edit the video together. Really all I would suggest is tell them, hey, you want a good professional intro, or a stinger, sometimes they're called, and then some sort of outro graphic as well that might have the call to action built in as well. You'll have a lower third which has your name in it, and potentially you might have the URL that appears throughout, and then you have a strong call to action at the end. If you give those as the basics and then you give them 1 or 2 videos to model off, they'll be fine. It's not rocket science. So we'll just give you a little bit of a look here. It's just a minute-long FAQ that I answer one of the frequently asked questions over at Melbourne Video Productions. This is the video.
You might be thinking, but isn't video expensive? Maybe it's too expensive for you to implement in your business. And let me just say, these days it couldn't be further from the truth. Fortunately, with the way technology's going, the cost of the equipment has come down significantly. Not only that, here at Melbourne Video Productions, look, we've got our own businesses and we use web video every single day. And not only in our own businesses, but for clients' businesses as well. So what does that mean? That means we've developed all of these efficiencies and systems and processes to make sure that we can deliver excellent quality video at a great price. And we manage to do that just by perfecting and honing our craft so we can pass that on to you. So if you're looking to get web video that works, the best possible web video at the best possible price, go ahead and get in contact with the team here at Melbourne Video Productions. It'll be cheaper than you think.
Thing at the end with a bit of like a reverse stinger. So that's editing it all together. So just to get an idea as well, I like to check in and just kind of see how we're traveling. Who has edited some video before? Yeah. Yep. So, and who has got an editor to do it? Yep. I would love to see next time more hands go up for the editor to do it. That's one of the roadblocks that's stopping you from putting out lots of content. Remembering that time is your most important asset, and remembering that video duplicates you. So with that in mind, what are some of the roadblocks that are stopping you punching that video out? So we've got a question up the back.
If you've filmed a heap of footage that needs to be edited, how do you get that to the editor if they're not local?
So there's a few ways that you can do it. The way that we have been doing it is getting local people to edit, and that's one of the reasons for swapping big file sizes. But what you can do is actually encode the video down so it's smaller, and then you might send it off to your editor if they're offshore or something like that. They can edit on the mini files, and if they're using something like Final Cut Pro, they can save that particular project. They send the project back to you, and then you stitch in the high quality videos, and then you do the output. So that way, effectively, you're getting the 80% offshored, and then you do the 20% onshore, which obviously, when you think about the maths and depending on the size of the video project, can actually work out, substantial savings up the front.
That's similar to what I was going to ask, because I've got some videos that are 16 gig, and Dropbox you can only upload up to 10. So would you then cut it into maybe 3 pieces and send it? Because if you condense it, doesn't it reduce the quality as well?
It does. So that was the thought process behind reducing it, getting them to edit on a smaller thing, then they send you back the Final Cut project, and then you can stitch in the biggest ones. These are good questions for an editor to solve as well. I think regardless of what you end up doing, do like the gentleman suggested and find an editor locally who can at least oversee the process. You want to get someone on site, because there's nothing better than having someone you go, hey, I'm about to do a shoot, or can you come in and help me? Again, it just helps to remove that roadblock. And when you get them for 15, 20 bucks an hour, it'll be the best $15 or $20 an hour you can spend. And then over time, you can come up with some ways to move it offshore. Yep.
Just a quick one. The last video you showed, the white background was kind of indistinguishable from your white computer screen there. Was that just a white wall, or how do you actually achieve that? I've been mucking around with green screens lately and you've just talked me out of it.
If you go to YouTube and just type in Infinity White, that's what it's called, Apple Infinity White. There's some tutorials that you can watch to do it. Basically, it's a white wall. You have lights around the outside. You do it in the same way as a green screen, and then when you're in the edit, you blow out the contrast. And then effectively what we're doing is we're making the white match the computer white, which is great, because if you go to Melbourne SEO where the whole branding is all white, then obviously it feels seamless. It feels like I'm talking from within the website, which is a good look. I think there's a question just up the back there, and then we'll have one more after that, and then we'll make sure we continue with the presentation. Just while the mic gets sorted out, maybe there's another one over here, I think.
You mentioned stitching it in. What does that mean?
When I said stitching it in, you have to put me back in context. Oh, yes. Okay. So you'd send the final cut. You'd get the Final Cut project file sent back to you. So they might drop that in Dropbox, and then you'd open it up in your Final Cut locally, and then you change the source files. So rather than using the low quality source file, because the length of the video is the same, you would select the new high quality, and then it swaps them out. It replaces the low quality with the high quality. I don't know, that was probably just not even an editor word, I made that word up. We might have that question up the back there, and then we'll continue, and then we'll have some questions at the end, if that's okay.
Love your presentation and taking lots of notes. One of the things I think it was Shah was asking about, if you've, let's say you've filmed your seminar or your workshop, like I did at one point, and we had, I think, 16 or 18 hours of footage. We knew that was impossible to upload and give to our editor. So all we did was got a new hard drive, which you can get like 40, 50 bucks from the post office or whatever, put all the footage onto it, sent it over to the Philippines. So he had a copy. He edited it all based on our instructions, and so I could make videos and write editing times in a Word document, send them over to him or email them to him. And then he uploaded that to our account online, and it was like cost us 40 bucks.
That's an excellent idea.
That's a very easy, non-technical way. Or you can use Handbrake. I don't know if you ever use Handbrake to compress video files.
There's a few different encodings. There's a Visual Hub. There are a few different encoding software. You can use Compressor. There's a few that will basically take your big footage and squash it down. So there's a couple of options there, which I can answer in the break as well if you want to know a bit more specifics as to what software. The other thing as well, I even knew a colleague that flew their Philippines video staff out because they were recording a 3-day workshop. They flew them out from the Philippines, and then they flew them to Melbourne, and then they got them to record the workshop. They took the footage and flew back to the Philippines, and it ended up working out cheaper for them to do that and pay for the flights than it would have been to pay a local video editor to come and shoot the thing. So you can kind of see, and I know Dale talks a lot of those sort of strategies as well. So how do we get their videos seen? And some things to keep in mind is, when are you going to use different video streaming services like Vimeo and Wistia versus things like YouTube? Sometimes on our website, for example, the Melbourne Video Production website, we'll use Wistia if we want to put forward a very professional, clean image. Obviously, video is what we're selling, and I don't want people to end up getting bounced back to YouTube, and sometimes YouTube doesn't quite stream it at the way that we would like. So for that website, we use Wistia, but for Melbourne SEO Services, I use YouTube because I want to bump up the view counts on my video, which helps to get them extra coverage and gets them seen as well. So you just kind of have to weigh that up. There is no right or wrong. The fact is, regardless of what you end up doing, you need to use YouTube because it is the 800-pound gorilla when it comes to video marketing. So if you're going to do stuff, you want to make sure that you're using YouTube. I've got a clicker. Because YouTube is the second largest search engine, as we know. There's a keyword that we were targeting. which is social media marketing strategy, and we come up number 1 underneath the 2 paid ads. What you need to think about when thinking about YouTube and getting your videos to come up is, what is the objective of YouTube? The objective of YouTube is to show the best and most relevant result to the end user. So you want to be creating content that matches the user's intention when they type in a keyword. Think about what keywords they're typing in, and then make sure that your video matches that keyword. And if you do that, that sends the right signal. I think Google, they were quite smart when they came. They changed the way that search works. For those of you who've been using the internet for a long time, you think of something like Alta Vista or Yahoo, one of those old search engines, and it used to be like a directory style site. You'd go there and they'd have all of these different listings, and you'd click on one and you'd get narrower and narrower and narrower and narrower until you found what you were looking for. Google turned that on its head. They had a search box, didn't give you anything until you told them what you wanted. And then it served up the relevant results for them. So it always started with a keyword. How does someone tell the search engine what it is that they're looking for? The words that they're entering in. And the same is said for YouTube as well. So you want to be picking the right keywords. Where do you find keywords? You can go to Google and type it in, and when it does the auto suggest, just type a little seed keyword in, or you can run a search and look down the bottom of the page, and then you can see down the bottom, it'll make some recommended searches. Or if you still get stuck even after that, consult with your clients and ask them, think about like the avatar, float out of your head, float down into their head, and think, what would they be searching for? And trying to find a list of keywords, a big batch of keywords that they might be typing in. Once you do that, or another option is to have a look at something like Market Samurai. Market Samurai is a great keyword research tool built by an Australian-based company as well, and that's a good way to help find keywords. But you just want to make sure that you get that list of keywords, and then depending on whatever the video is, the keyword needs to match the actual content. And then it's just a matter of putting it in the right places. This is basic on-page SEO. Make sure it's in your title, make sure it's in your description, make sure it's in your tags. So we were targeting affordable studio hire in Melbourne, which is something that we do quite well for that particular, and it's a long tail phrase, and that's okay, but it's a very specific buying phrase, so I don't care. I only need a few people to be looking at that, and if they're typing in affordable studio hire in Melbourne, this is a perfect direct match video for them. So then you just put the keyword in the relevant places. Just remember though, when you optimize a video, make sure that you always do it with the user in mind. Don't try and think about gaming the search engines by trying to put a keyword and stuff it into the wrong place. Because Google will not come to your website, pull out their wallet and make a purchase. People buy stuff. Not Google, people buy stuff. So optimize for people first and put them as your primary focus. And really that's what Google wants anyway. It wants to provide a good experience for people. So always keep them front and center. And then to try and get your video ranked and seen and get some visibility, what you want to do is Google keeps an eye on videos, particularly when they're just launched. Nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd. So what you want to do is start the fire on your videos. You want to make sure that you get a quick run-up of views as early as you can. So you email your database, just like Dale was talking about earlier. You share it on social media and get the word out. You embed the video on high-trafficked pages. And if you've got a really special video, one of those ones like the video business card that you put a little bit of extra effort into, you might even pay for some views. You might use something like Google Ads to try and start a bit of a fire to help that crowd start to grow. The thing to keep in mind when it comes with videos is the more videos you've got, the more tickets you've got in this search engine lottery. If you imagine the chance of you coming up for a particular phrase when a client is looking for something, you increase the odds of that happening, the more pieces of content you have out there. The more assets that you have sprinkled out across the web that are optimized for different phrases increases the chance that you're coming up. So the aim of the game becomes, how can we create a whole bunch of content as quickly as possible in the most cost-effective format, but not in a spammy way. We want good quality content. And that leads to my secret weapon. Did anyone actually listen to, I did a presentation for Business Blueprint with Dale, and it was more focused on the SEO side of things. Did anybody hear that? It's a webinar. Okay, that gentleman there, couple of hands. So If you want to find out more about this strategy, you can have a look at that webinar. It'll be in there. So search David Jenyns and it'll be inside and it'll go into what I'm about to talk about in more detail. I'm going to brush over the top of it. The key of me doing this is so you get the concept. Sometimes when you've got an hour and a half, you can't get everything across and I can't get down into nitty-gritties. All I want you to do is take away the concept and go, aha, I've got it. And then you can start to apply it. So, out of all of the other slides, you'll notice I put hardly any bullets, but this one I wanted to make a point, so I put lots. The reason I love this strategy is because you can quickly and easily and cost effectively create a whole bunch of videos. They will drive so much traffic to your website and the traffic you can't turn off. It'll increase your conversion and position you as the expert. It will create a whole bunch of content, high quality stuff in a very short space in time, and it forces you to create content. It'll help provide staff training. It'll duplicate you many times over. It makes you Google proof because the way that you share and syndicate this content means that regardless of what Google does, what penguin, panda, hummingbird algorithm update they try to throw at you, it doesn't matter because you're driving sources from multiple different angles. They can't take this traffic away. It'll open the doors for new partners, create new revenue streams, manage your online reputation, and you can outsource 80% of it. It even pays for itself and cures cancer. No, maybe not the last one, but it will pay for itself. And I've used it successfully on these three businesses. I've used it to launch the Metastock Made Easy website, Melbourne SEO Services, Melbourne Video Productions. We're working with a cosmetic surgeon at the moment. We're doing print management company. We're doing this strategy and I know it works and I've been doing it for so long. I even hinted at it at the start. So much so that we caught the attention of Andrew Griffiths, who's a very successful author when it comes around to small business marketing. And we're taking one of his workshops and we're running it through this little secret weapon that I'm about to share with you. Where he's actually helping me as well formalize it to create a framework so you can understand how it works and how it ties together. I haven't quite come up with the name yet, so I've imaginatively called it the content machine, but these are the 3 Ps of the content machine. It's about presenting a mini workshop to cram in the try and record a whole bunch of content in a very short space in time. We'll turn that into a product, which then can help cash flow the chopping up of that content and then syndicating it around on the web. So this process, as I said, it's effectively what we did for the Metastock Programming Study Guide 7 years ago when I chopped it up into pieces, and I've now successfully done it on multiple occasions, and it turns on a traffic machine. It starts with presenting. You run a little workshop, you think about what content are you going to create. The content, typically speaking, thinking about what questions are your prospects asking at the time just before they think about doing business with you. Swim up a little bit upstream where you're thinking about just before they start doing business with you, what types of questions are they asking? And start to create a framework, a workshop that you deliver around that piece of content. That's a great place to start. Another way to do it, if you're going to run multiple workshops, and the way that I'll do it, I've got some different workshops like the SEO method and the lights, camera, profits and the outsourced profit machine. And the reason I do them is I do it as staff training. I've got all of this information that I learn, and one of my skills is to take the complex and break it down into step by step that makes it very easy and understandable for people to execute. So I run a workshop as a way to force myself to document my processes and procedures. I get my staff to come along, and for example, the SEO method details exactly what it is that we offer to our clients because it's internal staff training. It forces me to document it, but then it becomes a fantastic product that if someone comes to me and says, I can't afford the done-for-you type service, that's okay. I can downsell you or cross-sell you to the do-it-yourself type home study version. So using it for staff training is another really great way, and it helps with that onboarding process. When a team member joins with me, one of the first things I get them to do is watch 4 or 5 of my workshops, just so that way they get it. Sometimes when people hear the idea of a workshop, the buts start popping up. But I can't do this, but I can't do that, or for whatever reason, I can't do it. I didn't think I could present that first time when I was standing in that other room shaking like a leaf. But I did it anyway. and it was a turning point for me, and it was one of the best things that I can do. You deep down know that when you get that uncomfortable feeling, you'll get breakthroughs when you step through that, because most people won't, but you will. So if you like the idea, and this can be applied to any business, and if you've got a business thinking about, I don't know how a workshop would work for me, make sure you come up to me in the break, and I'm sure we can brainstorm how you can find a workshop that's going to work for you. People say, oh, but I don't know what to talk about. Talk to your best prospects and clients and ask them, what sort of information are you interested in? What questions have you got? And create a workshop around that. Or think about some other information that might be relevant to them. Let's say that you've got a wedding reception business and you sell a reception venue. How about creating some content around all of the other things that are important about when setting up a wedding? Whether it's a session on choosing the right flowers or getting the right photographer, and you could find other partners in the industry who could come and present as well. Then you start to do the strategic alliance stuff that Dale was talking about, and said that's one of his most powerful marketing strategies. You can tie all of this together, and this can unlock new doors for you to get your message seen by more people. And it's a sneaky way for you to get someone else to lighten the load when it comes to creating the content. You don't need to do all of it, but it would be my strong recommendation that you present, because it can help to raise your profile in your industry and start to position you as an expert. So if you don't have any money to run it, that's another thing you can throw out to the side as well. Workshops like this, very cost effective. You get a uni student to come and do it at a very low cost. You can do it in your place of business and do it with 5 people in the room, so you don't even need to hire a venue. Really, one of the best things about doing a workshop is you draw a line in the sand. You know that people are going to be there on that day, and they've either paid good money or agreed to be there, and you have to show up. It forces you to do it. There's nothing like a forced constraint to make sure that you act. So it's one of the reasons why I run them. Then on the actual day, you want to extract everything that you can from the workshop. You record it. Make sure that you get raving fan testimonials during the breaks. Whether it's someone who's worked with you or if they're commenting on how they've enjoyed the day, get testimonials on the day. And then also photos as well. Make sure that you've got a photographer. It's very smart to have a photographer come along and like Grant, and take shots, and then have that as something that you can share out socially and create a little bit of buzz that kind of primes people ready for when you are going to launch the product, for the people who missed it. Then the second P is turning it into a product. We used to do it physical, now we do it all digital. Digital is a much easier way to do it. And it's quite simple. We just take the workshop. I get my mum to transcribe it. Mum transcribes everything for me, so she likes it as well when I mention her name. Hi, Mum, because she'll most likely transcribe this video. You're awesome. Hi, Mum. Actually, can we all say hi, Mum? There we go. She'll love that. Okay, so we take the videos, we split out the audios to get the MP3s, we get the transcripts done, and we can create a workbook. You create a membership site. You put a page on your website that sells the product. It's good to put a price on it. If you put a price on it, it's great, because then you're adding value, or you're putting a price on the information. So if you decide to give this as a free bonus to someone who purchases, or if you decide to use it as a way to lure in a prospect to let them get to know you without making a big purchase, you could give them a copy for free. They can then, in their mind, go, oh, wow, that's worth $300 because it's listed on the website at $300. So really important to have a price point on the site. Don't just give it away for free. Then you can also make some quick cash at this point in time. You could potentially sell seats to the workshop anyway, and that would, on the day, if you sell seats to the workshop, that could cash flow that whole first step of recording. And then you get to cash flow it again once you've got the product. If you do a little bit of a product launch, and if you haven't looked at Jeff Walker's product launch formula, that's a great product to kind of teach you how to launch different products. Excuse me. We did one called the Outsource Profit Machine, and we partnered with the Market Samurai team. They attended the workshop. You can see a few of them in that photo there. And we actually recorded that product, and then we launched it to their list. We sold over 200 copies at around $300 a unit. We split it 50-50, and we both did very well out of it. So partnering with the right people, this can open doors as well. And then you come to the promotion. And this is really what I drilled down into in the webinar that I did with Dale. We basically take that content, we chop it up into pieces. I'll get a team member to watch it, time code it. They'll pick out little useful videos. They'll pick start times and end times. They'll write titles and descriptions for YouTube. They'll choose the keyword that they're going to optimize for. It'll come in a spreadsheet, and then I hand that off to my editor. He chops up the workshop into 60 different clips, and then we upload that to YouTube. Now I've just created a whole bunch of content where I can, good quality content in a very short space in time, very cost effective, that can start driving a whole lot of traffic to the website. You can then split the audio, which you've already done as part of the product anyway, and upload it to iTunes. And now you've got some new ways to tap into a different traffic machine. You can then take the YouTube videos and join them with the transcripts and post them on your blog. Now you've created 60 new web posts, helping to promote those high quality videos. You can take the transcripts and post them on PDF sharing sites. You can take your best articles and then get them edited and make those into high quality articles. You take your transcripts and your best performing videos and then you turn them into really good quality articles, and then you might share them out as guest posts and things like that. And then of course along the way we're sharing and socially syndicating as well. Again, you don't need to understand the nitty-gritty of this, just get the concept. Get the idea that you can record one piece of content and you can syndicate it out many-fold. And this right here will unlock a boatload of traffic and highly qualified traffic of people who are waiting to find out about your products and services. One workshop you can cut up into 60 YouTube clips, 10 iTunes things, blog posts, scribes. The long and the short of it is you've got well over 250 pieces of content there. Each one is optimized for a different keyword phrase, and then you socially share that as well. And you don't have to do this all in one go. It's something you can drip out over time. But all of the content that you do put out there, you imagine it like breadcrumbs, just like Hansel and Gretel. When they got led away from the house, he dropped all of these breadcrumbs so that he could find his way back. All of these little video pieces of content and content that you syndicate out on the web are little breadcrumbs out there optimized for a particular phrase that someone will pick up. They'll eat the breadcrumb and they'll want to know where the rest of the loaf is, or they'll want to know where the cake is. And at the end of every piece of content that you put out there, you have a strong call to action to come back to the site, to buy the product, to find out what it is that you do. It's a very, very powerful way. You can also start to use this for reputation management. Start to own the conversation around your name. When someone types in your company or your individual or your product names, you should own the first half or the first page of Google. So that way you can control the discussion and get this in place early, and it pushes the negative reviews or anything that you've got deeper in if that's there, just go out and create good content and be a good person. You probably don't need to worry about that anyway, but it's still a good idea to make sure that you own the real estate around your major brand terms. This is not something that happens overnight. You don't have to do it straight away. You can drip it out over a period of time. You run one workshop and that might create the content for you for the next 6 months, 9 months. Record it once and just drip it out over time. Let this cash flow itself. Sell tickets to the workshop, pays for the workshop. Sell the workshop afterwards, and then that can help cash flow chopping it up into pieces. This is good stuff. The 80-20 of it, because it gets even better, is think about where you're adding the most value. You don't add the value by chopping this up into little pieces. You add the value by running the workshop. Run the workshop, create the systems, get your team members to chop it up and syndicate it out onto the web. You don't need to be a rocket scientist once they've got the systems in place to chop up a video and load it to YouTube. It's not a good use of your time. So your input now becomes preparing for the workshop. And then once you do that, wow. I think the best, did anyone see that episode of Seinfeld where Kramer creates a coffee table book about coffee tables? Did anyone see that one? As I was thinking about this, I thought, now is the time that I need to The best way for me to explain that whole process is for me to run a workshop, turn it into a product, break it into pieces, syndicate it, and push this to the nth degree. So I'm now in that thought process, and I've just drawn the line in the sand. On the 16th of May in Melbourne, we'll be running a workshop, and depending on when somebody's watching this, chances are the product's already been made. So if you want to find out more about that, you can head over to Melbourne SEO Services, or I'll have my contact details at the end. You can send me a note, and love you to either come or you can follow it up once it's there, and it'll be the best proof in the pudding. It is the coffee table book about coffee tables. So the action steps for you here now, the takeaways. You want to record those 3 videos that I talked about. You want to record the video business card, the frequently asked questions, and the case studies. Once you've done that, continue to do the latter 2. Keep on going with case studies, keep on going with frequently asked questions, and then schedule a workshop. Lock it in. Make it happen. Set a date to it. Have people there. You have to show up. And start to build these assets. I am so grateful that I built all of those assets by accident 7 years ago and did that strategy that I almost stumbled upon and started doing this thing, and now it's an unstoppable traffic machine. I couldn't turn the traffic off if I wanted to. I could go to YouTube and delete my account, except all the scrapers have taken the video off YouTube and posted it on their own sites, and now it's all over the web, and regardless of what I do to try and get rid of the video and that content, I couldn't. It's a machine now, and it still makes sales for me.
So Dave, tell me about that.
So, Dave, tell me about what I want to finish on is I'll just give you a little bit of a snippet. The types of videos that I talked about is stuff that I know is going to have a huge impact on your business. Usually, I like to always start with a story, and I usually like to end with a story as well. We've been working on a couple of new concepts, and at the moment I'm still getting mixed reviews on this video. This is something that we've just worked on. I haven't actually released it yet to anyone. It's a pretty big ego piece, but I would love to get some feedback on it, because my thought process is, if the biggest hurdle someone has to doing business with you is believing what you say is true, how can you tell your compelling backstory and tell about you and who you are and how you came to be where you are, if you tell that in the right way without an overt sales pitch, no strong call to action at the end, it's just really a trust builder, I think this type of video can have huge impact. So this is a little bit of the premiere, and we're still making some final tweaks, but I would like to dim the lights on cue. And then just like to watch this, and rather than me finishing with a story, I'd like to tell you a story in video format. So once those lights go down, I'll hit play, and you'll just have to indulge me, but fortunately I have the clicker and you're all here, so you have to watch. Okay.
So Dave, tell me about that first day.
I was 14, it was a cold day, late in the afternoon, so I was lying there on my back and the world was spinning, and I didn't want to move an inch because I knew if I did, I was going to spew. I threw up all over the mat, and there's nothing more humiliating, and there I was on my first day, everyone watching on my hands and knees, mopping up my own vomit with paper towels. I remember that feeling. Next week though, I came back, and you know what my teacher said? Didn't expect to see you here again. I'm the owner of a boutique online marketing company. It's called Melbourne SEO Services, and I've lived in Melbourne my whole life. I went to Melbourne High School and decided not to go to traditional university. Instead, I took out a $5,000 loan and did one of those learn how to trade the stock market in a weekend type course. You know the ones. It was the best idea. I was going to make millions of dollars, and this was my time. So what did I learn? Well, I learned that you need money to trade the stock market, and all I had was a $5,000 debt. I lived with my mum in a 2-bedroom flat, stacking shelves in a supermarket just to pay back the loan. Always thought that I was going to be the next stock market guru, the next Warren Buffett, but maybe I was wrong. I kept in touch with that original trading group, helping them learn how to use this charting software that we'd been taught. I had this knack for taking complex ideas and then breaking them down into their simplest form, and then show others how things worked. I teamed up with one of the guys from the course and we wrote this 240-page study guide on how to master the software. My dreams were boosted again, but it didn't last. I realised you can have the best product in the world, but unless anyone knows that it exists, it doesn't mean squat. I had some success, but I wasn't where I thought I should be, and what was up here just didn't match with what was out there. And I wanted to know why. I went searching. Books, tapes, videos, CDs, MP3s. I devoured self-development like a pig in a honey pit. The amount I spent on self-development courses, I could have bought a house. I was looking for the Holy Grail, the secret to success. I was reading this book about a guy in the US. He sold the Brooklyn Bridge. He'd basically written up a press release, chopped up bits of the bridge and then sold them off. At the time, in my hometown, Australia's most well-known sporting stadium, the MCG, was being renovated and they were discarding all of the old seats and carpet. The timing was uncanny. I couldn't believe it. This is my golden ticket. Here it is, Dave. Welcome to the chocolate factory. TV, radio, magazines, newspapers, and then, just like before, pop, the bubble burst. I was riding on a promotion, and once the attention died out, all I had was a pile of old wood and a little extra cash. You can see the pattern, right? So one day when I was stacking shelves, a friend of mine came up and asked if I wanted in on a rock and roll clothing music store. I bet you can guess what I said. 3 stores, 20 staff, importing from China, franchising, endless mistakes and countless lessons in the best education money could buy. That's how I learned. 10,000 hours, that's how long they say it takes to become an expert at something. Entrepreneurs, they're in a different league. I say double, even triple that. And when you get there, that's day one. People started coming to me for help again and again and again. I was totally qualified. I had a PhD in real-world business. And I felt good. Like staring at one of those magic eye patterns. I could see through it. I could see pictures in people's patterns. I could see where they were getting stuck. And I'd unconsciously developed these systems to solve people's problems. We had the tools, we had the know-how, we had the experience. We'd figured out Google. So when Google changed things up and all of these one-legged businesses came crashing down, we held our ground. Our foundations were strong, and once again, people wanted to know how. You see, building businesses, it's not static. There's no one-size-fits-all. You have to evolve, and that evolution takes experience. 14 years. 30,000 hours, and I can finally say, this is where I want to be.
Yeah, so that, like I said, it was a pretty big ego piece that I'm still unsure how it's going to go and whether or not someone will actually sit through 6 minutes of that. You're my captive audience, so you kind of have to. But it will be interesting to see how it goes. And in marketing, you have to take risks. You have to swing for the fences. You have to try things. This is us swinging for the fence because it doesn't follow a standard structure. There's no clear call to action. This is a branding piece. This is get to know Dave. This is me telling my story. It's building the myth. So that's kind of something that we're working on at the moment. And it's a good way, I think, to finish because it kind of shows you where we've come from. From that first video I showed you to now, video has moved significantly. We're already starting to see some of these video documentary style things bubble up, and I think they're going to become more and more popular. So I think that might be something that you can work towards. If you've got any questions, I think we may or may not be out of time. We're out of time. I'm going to be around for the rest of the weekend, so you can come up and ask questions if you want to get in contact with the 2 websites there, my personal email address and my Twitter as well. And that's it.
Business Blueprint. To access more great content, visit businessblueprint.com.